We want to turn now to the Trump transition and breaking news just in on who the president-elect is expected to tap for Treasury Secretary. Gabe Gutierrez joins us. Gabe, what have you learned?
Hi, Lester. Two sources familiar with this election tell NBC News that President-elect Trump has just offered the job of Treasury Secretary to billionaire hedge fund manager Scott Bessent. He's a Trump donor who has emerged as a key economic advisor to the president-elect. And all this comes after President-elect Trump just made his new pick for Attorney General. Tonight, amid growing controversies over some of his cabinet picks, President-elect Trump's new choice for Attorney General, Pam Bondi, is facing a much easier path to be confirmed than her predecessor.
We've got to keep Florida red, especially for our great president.
A former prosecutor, Bondi was elected twice as Florida's Attorney General, the first woman to hold that job, and was on Trump's defense team during his first impeachment trial.
Pam Bondi is here, a fantastic friend and woman.
She also helped amplify Trump's false claims about the 2020 election.
We have won Pennsylvania, and they're not going to take it away from us.
Trump posting Pam will refocus the DOJ to its intended purpose of fighting crime. Her rise coming after the abrupt withdrawal of the president-elect's initial pick, former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, who said today he won't go back to Congress.
I'm still going to be in the fight, but it's going to be from a new perch.
Gaetz again denying allegations he paid women for sex, including a 17-year-old, which the House Ethics Committee was investigating. The Justice Department also investigated the allegations and did not charge Gaetz.
If the things that the House Ethics Report were true, I would be under indictment and probably in a prison cell. But of course, they're false.
Today, Trump's incoming deputy chief of staff knocked down speculation the FBI director job would go to former Michigan Congressman Mike Rogers.
Boy, does it need leadership, and it needs to clean out the rot that's happening in the senior levels of the FBI.
The rush is also on to staff lower-level positions. Already, transition officials are taking suggestions for potential hires from the extensive personnel database created by Project 2025. A person familiar with the situation tells NBC News. That's despite Trump repeatedly denouncing the conservative policy blueprint during the campaign.
I don't know what the hell it is. It's Project 25.
And again, the breaking news, President-elect Trump picking one of his top supporters in the finance world, Scott Bessent, for Treasury Secretary. Lester?
All right, Gabe, thank you. Now to the Manhattan hush money case against President-elect Trump. Today, the judge delaying the sentencing in the case. Laura Jarrett is here. Laura, clearly a win for the Trump team.
Yes, Lester. The defense team wanted one last shot to try to make their case that this entire case should be thrown out now that he's the president-elect. The judge not doing that just yet, but is giving them an opportunity to present their case. If, for whatever reason, the judge doesn't do that and tries to delay the sentencing until Mr. Trump is out of office, it's going to prompt a further fight. We're likely to hear from the judge with a final ruling in early December.
All right, Laura, thank you for that.
And with Matt Gaetz out of the picture, the president-elect's other cabinet contenders could soon find themselves in the hot seat. Tonight, growing reaction from members of Congress about that allegation of sexual assault against Pete Hegseth, Trump's defense secretary pick. Trump's choice for director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, could also face tough questions over her previous stances on Russia and other U.S. adversaries. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now with more. So, Ryan, with Gaetz out of contention for Attorney General, are all eyes on the Hill essentially on Pete Hegseth?
I do think that he's going to get a great deal of scrutiny, but he's not the only cabinet pick that there are concerns on Capitol Hill regarding. I think that Tulsi Gabbard also has some big questions that she's going to be forced to answer. And you see some of the other picks, RFK Jr., for instance, and Linda McMahon, perhaps, as education secretary, where they're going to get a careful vetting. But I do think that Hegseth's issues, particularly sexual assault allegations, are going to be front and center among the Senate Republicans. There have been a number of Senate Republicans that have specifically talked about the sexual assault and sexual abuse problems within the military, and to have as the leader at the Pentagon someone who has similar accusations, even though he has very vociferously denied those allegations, perhaps could send the wrong message. And then there's also the issue with Hegseth that even though he is a decorated combat veteran, that he just doesn't really have that much experience running an agency the size and the scope of the Department of Defense that has 1.3 million active duty service members under its charge. So Hegseth has a path to confirmation for sure. The chair of the committee said so, but it's not going to be an easy path for him to get there.
Do we know when some of those other controversial picks you mentioned, like Tulsi Gabbard, will actually be on the Hill to meet with members of Congress? And in terms of questions, what do you think they're going to ask her?
Yeah, so there's a number of steps to this process, right? The first step are these private one-on-one meetings that Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. and Pete Hegseth will probably have more of that will really pick up in earnest in December. The next stage would happen in January after the new Senate is sworn in, and that's when the nomination and confirmation process begins with these public hearings. And the public hearings are where Democrats really have an opportunity to have their voice heard in this process. The Republicans have enough votes to get every one of these confirmations done without Democratic help, but Democrats will have the opportunity to ask Pete Hegseth about these accusations. They'll have the opportunity to ask Tulsi Gabbard about the things that she said about Russia and others. So that's when you're going to probably see a lot of contentious back and forth between senators and these picks by Donald Trump in January.
Ryan Nobles on Capitol Hill. Thank you.
And guess what time it is? It's that time going into the evening when President-elect Trump starts sending out a flurry of cabinet picks like he's done daily for about a week now. And just in, Trump has named billionaire Scott Bessent as his pick for Treasury Secretary, according to two sources. He's been one of Trump's closest economic advisors in the last few months, and if confirmed, will be in charge of overseeing big campaign promises like sweeping tax cuts. Next, Trump tapping Congresswoman Lori Chavez-Deremer for Labor Secretary. She just lost her re-election bid in Oregon. Trump also announcing the Director of Office Management and Budget as Russell Thurlow Vaught. He was the director of OMB back in 2017 as well. And finally, Dr. Janet Neshiwat for Surgeon General and former Congressman Dr. Dave Weldon for Director of the CDC. All of this is happening as we are also seeing increasing scrutiny for his new pick for Attorney General Pam Bondi, which we're going to get to in just a second. Then there's the person who Bondi has replaced, former Congressman Matt Gaetz, who today talked about not returning to Congress and his decision to withdraw from consideration yesterday.
Pam Bondi's confirmation won't have some of the sharp edges that mine would have. It won't take the same long process. So AG Bondi will be able to start implementing those Trump policies right away. So we're ready on day one.
All right, so let's bring in NBC White House correspondent Aaron Gilchrist from West Palm Beach, Florida. Aaron, so much to dive into here. Let's start with Scott Bessent. Who is he and what can we expect?
You're right. Really, it was the last half an hour or so we started to get this long flurry of names for appointments, more than I can sort of keep track of with my notes here. But you're right. Scott Bessent was one of the names that we had been waiting for. We knew that he was in the mix, being considered for Treasury Secretary. He is someone who has had Donald Trump's ear for some time now. He was a key economic advisor during the campaign. He was also a big-time supporter of the Trump campaign, pouring lots of money into that effort. He is a hedge fund manager who many on Wall Street see as a good choice. We know there was some criticism from Elon Musk about Bessent before he was named as Donald Trump's choice for Treasury Secretary. That criticism saying that he would be more business as usual, and still we see now that Donald Trump has selected him as the person he wants to lead the effort to create more tax cuts, to lead the effort potentially to create tariffs that would impact other countries, to lead the effort in just setting fiscal and economic policy for this country that, of course, would touch other economies around the world. And as you noted, Gotti, just one of several announcements we're getting tonight from the Trump transition team.
Yeah, so many announcements. We don't even have time to read between the lines here. So let's just move straight to Russell Vaught. He's a familiar face, right, to Trump's cabinet room, but also a key figure in the whole Project 2025 thing. So who is he and what did he do between 2020 and now?
Yeah, you're right. Russell Vaught was the director of the Office of Management and Budget during the first Trump administration. He was someone who was a key figure in helping to map out some fiscal policy initiatives as well, and how the White House wanted Congress to work with it to spend money. We also know that he was a co-author of Project 2025 and that he served in a capacity where he with Project 2025, he was a writer of some of the policy positions that were part of that document. He also served as a policy manager during the Republican National Committee's development of its policy statements as well. And Vaught's appointment comes as a familiar source tells NBC News that transition officials have been taking a look at the personnel database that was developed as a part of Project 2025, looking at some of those people as potential people to come into the administration. And so now it seems as though, at least for him, and there have been several others who at least had some connection to Project 2025 who have been tapped for different roles, some of them roles that need to be confirmed by the Senate, some of them roles that are more part of the workforce for this administration.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.